All right, let's go ahead and kick it off. So today is August 22, 2024. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. As a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. Today, we're going to go over the 131 planning spreadsheet and get a final end of release status. The release went out a couple weeks ago, and we're going to get a final status update to see where all of our features landed. We can start doing the 132 planning now. I'll just duplicate over the spreadsheet and copy over the items we didn't complete. And if you have any items you want to add to 132, we can do that. There's a preliminary schedule assigned for the 132 release. This will take us to the end of the year. The important timelines or deadlines to know here are the production readiness freeze and the enhancement freeze. This is the date by which we must declare what features the SIG is working on for 132 and get the production and enhancement approvals to get them into the 132 release. If you have anything that you want to discuss in terms of PRs or any miscellaneous topics, feel free to add it to the agenda. The link to the agenda doc is in your calendar invite. With that, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our 131 planning spreadsheet, and we'll go and get status updates for all of these items. So first up, we have recovering from resize failure. In 131, this was staying as alpha. Let me move to the right here. The previous changes were PR submitted for resizer, main Kubernetes changes merged. Looks like this was done. Any outstanding work here?
No, yeah, this is done. The resizer was released also. So, yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, Hamad. So I'll go ahead and mark this as complete for this cycle. Next up, we have volume group snapshot. And previous status was end-to-end test submitted. What's the latest on this one?
Right, so the end-to-end test is still being reviewed. There are a few things we need to change there. Unit test also is being reviewed. So I think once the unit test is merged, we can cut a sidecar release for the snapshotter. The ETV test will be for the 1.32. So I added a item at the end to discuss regarding.
So I'll say move to 132 for this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. And what we'll say is this one is started. This one we can skip. Next is CSI volume health, additional metrics, add end-to-end tests, remaining in alpha this cycle. Last status, E2E tests were approved, but waiting for merge. Have these been merged?
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's merged. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Yinchi. That means we can go ahead and mark this as done.
Yeah, for this cycle.
Great. Next is change block tracking, alpha this cycle. Last status was development continues. Is this an item we're going to move to 132?
Yes.
Okay.
Still, development still ongoing.
Sounds good. Next is enable privileged containers for Windows to replace CSI proxy for Windows. This work is happening out of tree, alpha for this cycle. Latest on this one, folks?
Same thing.
Same status. Okay. I'll say move to 132. Waiting for additional agents. Okay. Next is always honor reclaim policy, which is end-to-end tests and code changes. Moving to beta this cycle. It looks
Yeah.
like we were waiting for the blog to merge last.
Yeah, it's merged. Blog is merged, so it's done.
Awesome. Okay. Next is volume attribute class, beta for 131. Status was blog is being reviewed, pass test freeze, need to merge it later, and release sidecar for resizer. Anything new here?
I think the blog is out, and then once the resizer and provisioner sidecars are released, then I think we're good to go. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone.
Do we want to mark this
Resizer
as?
sidecar. Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, do we want to mark this as complete, or do we want to hold off until the resizer is released?
I want to say it's done, especially resizer sidecar is done, just only
Okay.
provisioners left. So yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Drew. I'll go ahead and mark it as done then. Okay, next is PV last phase transition time, GA for 131, moving from beta.
I think it's done.
Awesome. Okay, next up is storage capacity scoring, how to sort. This is designed for this cycle.
Mm-hmm. And the cap is on review, and I would say ready for 132.
Okay, so say move to 132 for alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, thank you, Jan. Next is SIG apps volume expansion for stateful sets. This is also designed for this cycle.
Yeah, we have demonstrate the basis logics in the SIG apps meetings this week. And we got some feedbacks from the SIG apps. We still optimizing the caps.
Sounds good. Thank you, Yinchi. Next is non-graceful node shutdown tests. Bug fix level this cycle.
No
like
update.
no update on this as well. Do we want to move this to 132?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we've got auto delete PVCs with stateful sets targeting beta, or remaining in beta. Target GA in 132. So okay, I'll go ahead and move this to 132. To target GA. Do we want to mark this as done for the current release?
Yeah, you can if you want. There's nothing to do for this release.
What was the last status here? Was submitted, which solves the problem that's been cherry picked. So okay. So this was successfully, or I guess there was some bug fixes here that needed to be done, I guess. All right, next is Cozy overall move to V1 Alpha 2. Status of this one?
So it's still ongoing, combining repos. So still going on.
Go ahead and get that moved to 132. Next is CSI all-in-one sidecar. Last status was working on the refactor. Anything new here? Looks like we have a status update. Mauricio, Connor and G explored possibilities of refactoring. Okay, so based on this, we'll go ahead and move this to 132.
Yeah, this was a long-term project. It's nothing in 131.
Makes sense. Cool. Thanks, Connor. Thanks, Mauricio. Next we have CSI migration, Ceph RBD. This was already done. Ceph FS was done. Portworx looks like was also completed. I'm gonna go ahead and mark that as done. And then finally, remove Git repo entry plugin was deprecated a long time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no change variant. Two weeks ago, I think we decided that um we don't really want to remove it yet, but send out a warning, but I haven't worked on that yet.
makes sense. I'll go ahead and move this to 132 to keep track.
Yep.
And thank you, Chris, for the update. Cool. So with that, we are done with 131. I will basically duplicate this sheet and we'll use that as the start for 132, which is Q3 of this year. And we're going to go through these one by one, and the ones that we know we wanted to hold on to. Hemant, I'm going to go ahead and delete the recovering from resize. Anything new that you need here in 132?
We want to move it to beta.
Move to beta. Okay.
It's been alpha long enough, although it says some API changes happened last time, but it's been alpha almost like it being even being used actually, even in alpha status. So I think, and it has end-to-end tests, so I think it meets the criteria of moving to beta, but we can discuss this later.
Okay. Sounds good. So that one is now marked for beta, and okay, next is volume group snapshots. So I think this is just a continuity of existing work.
Yeah.
Remains in alpha.
Oh, we're trying to move this to beta.
Oh, we want to move to beta for 132?
Yeah.
Okay, it's good. Next one, provision volume from cross namespace snapshots. Is this something that anybody is interested in working on, or should we drop it?
I think we need to check with the person working on this. So I'm not sure what is the status.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just drop it for this cycle. If somebody
Okay.
brings it back up, we can re-add it.
Okay.
Next up is CSI volume health. Do we want to move to beta? Seems probably too early.
So we can think about this. I think there are some questions. So it's a possibility. Or I need to think about it.
Okay, say CSI volume health. That's next is change block tracking, and this will continue as is. So targeting alpha for this cycle. Then enable privilege containers for Windows will continue as is, targeting alpha. And SE Linux stuff. Do we want to bring it back or do we want to just remove it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's probably shouldn't be enabled by default. We could do beta and disable it by default if it makes any sense. Otherwise, we could keep it alpha. I'm still collecting numbers if it breaks any customer workloads, but customers don't upgrade to newer releases, so I don't have I don't have much numbers.
Okay, so let me bring it back. So we're saying if it's gonna stay beta off by default, you said?
Yeah,
Off by default in 132.
maybe.
What other changes are we proposing here?
I will probably add some more metrics and alerts around.
Okay.
I think I have all the E2E tests I need, so that's fine. Yeah, just monitoring.
Got it. Okay, sounds good. And then for number 8, is that applicable for this cycle?
I would keep it in beta.
Beta, okay. So I will go ahead and drop that.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you, Jan. Next is always on a reclaim policy that was moved to beta last cycle. Do we want to immediately move to GA or hold on to beta for a while?
Probably should wait for the
Yep.
release and yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and delete that for now. Next is volume attributes. Was moved to beta in 131. Same story. Hold
Yeah, I
in
think
beta
some
for
things
this
are
cycle.
missing, like quota support needs to be added while this is in beta, I believe. But
Okay.
yeah.
So let's say remain in beta, add what were the 2 things, Drew?
I think quota support, and I think there are some discussions on default volume attribute class. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, but that's what I know of.
Got it. Okay. So we'll keep it and we'll say it stays in beta for this cycle. And all right, that sounds good. Thank you, Drew. Next is PV last phase transition time, GA in 131.
I think it's done already.
Cool. Let's go ahead and drop this all together. Storage capacity scoring, how to sort. I think we continue on.
Could go alpha in theory
Alpha.
if
Okay.
everything goes right.
Yeah, the cap is written that way, targeting alpha in 1.32. So let's try.
Okay. Then volume expansion for stateful sets.
I think we at least get this cap approved or merged in this circle.
Okay. Do you want to target design for this cycle or alpha?
Alpha.
Alpha. Cool. Set an aggressive goal. We'll see where it lands. All right. Next is non-graceful node shutdown. This we said move to 132 was bug fixes, so I'll leave that as is.
Okay.
And then auto delete PVCs with stateful set. This move to beta. In 132, we want to target GA. Everyone agreed with that?
Yeah, this has been in beta for a long time, so we'd like to move to GA if possible.
Got it. Okay. Get that moved to GA. Next item is add option to disable 6-minute force detach timer. Ben, I don't know if you're on the line and this got dropped.
Yeah, I'm here.
Is this something you want to pick up again? Maybe Rohit for add option to disable 6-minute force detach.
What do you mean? This is in.
Oh, sorry,
and
this was tracking. So change default in 132. So
yes, yes. We talked about changing the default of 131 and said let's not do that.
Okay.
In 132, we would like to change the default from off to on.
Perfect.
With an eye towards eventually deprecating and removing the whole thing, so there is no more 6-minute force detach timer at all.
Sounds good. So I'll go ahead and start tracking this for 132 then.
Okay.
Next up we have Cozy overall moved to V1 Alpha 2. So I think this remains as is. It was ongoing, so I'll leave it. Next is the all-in-one sidecar, and same thing here. I think this continues. Do we want to target alpha, or will this remain in design this cycle? Connor, do you know?
I think realistically it'll probably be design.
Okay, so let's leave it in design. If that changes, let us know and we'll update this. Cool. Next is volume populator data source. Anything we want to do here? I guess we were looking for volunteers.
Oh, I thought Michelle said someone in her team is interested in this.
Yeah,
Well,
Michelle, are you on the line?
the
I'm sorry?
idea had been to do cross namespace snapshot cloning with this feature.
Oh,
I don't know if that went anywhere.
oh, you said this is related to the cross namespace thing?
I thought that that's how we were going to implement cross namespace snapshot cloning, was by layering on the volume data source. But there was some work, and then I haven't heard anything in a couple of quarters.
Yeah, I remember at one point Michelle says someone in her team is interested in moving this to GA, but need some more time. So maybe we should check.
Let's keep it, and yeah, we can check if someone's willing to pick this up. So target GA. Next is so I'm gonna go ahead and drop the migration or these two CSI Ceph objects because that was removal. For Portworx, do you want to move to GA?
We can check with them.
Okay. So let's say consider moving to GA. This was beta, GA, beta to GA. All right, cool. And next item is remove dynamic provisioning support from host path in the in-tree volume plugin. This ended up getting dropped because it wasn't going to make it for code freeze. The KEP didn't get approved.
I want to continue this work after the last CSI migration is complete.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll bring it back and then we can track it for 132.
So you're waiting for the Portworx one, right? Do we have to finish the
Yeah.
Portworx? So okay, so then might be this one won't be ready yet, right? It's a Portworx. We need to move that to GA. Then do we need to remove it before? Right, we need to actually remove it. So we probably need a little bit more time before we can actually.
Is the
right?
concern that the KEP is not going to be ready in time?
Well, cap we could. I'm just saying that we cannot really remove that the dynamic provision support yet
Oh, I
if we
see.
still have those code in tree, right? I guess that
I
wasn't
see.
because we are still waiting for Portworx to finish.
I see.
In tree driver, I guess we need to remove that before we can remove dynamic provisioning.
Got it. So potentially we're blocked on this.
I think so.
Should we just remove it or mark it as design for now and then keep tracking it?
Right, maybe, yeah, keep it designed and we can,
Keep it design.
then color, you can work on the cap.
So May implementation, we'll work on our design only. Implementation blocked by well, you said it was Portworx?
Yeah,
Okay. Next is remove the Git repo, so we'll go ahead and continue to track that. Chris, you're still interested in driving that?
Yeah. Just a matter of time.
Sounds good. Cool. All right. I think that gives us a good start for 132. If anybody has any items that they want to add off the top of their head now, feel free. We can do that. Otherwise, we can do that in the next meeting as well. And with that, I'll go ahead and switch back to our agenda. We've got a few topics here. Let me go ahead and approve all of these. Okay. So the first one is from Carlery. Some questions about Flex Volume plugin. Let me open that up. Carlery, you want to bring up these questions?
Yes, I leave some question on the PR, and my spoken English is not very good. Can you see the comment?
Yep. So looks like the Flex Volume plugin implements the expandable volume plugin interface, but the expander controller does not add support for it. Is this a bug or is this on purpose? The Flex Volume plugin has been marked as deprecated since 123, but it still does work. I don't know whether it's worth fixing it or not. Thoughts on this?
I thought the flex volume was controller expandable too. It was saying that it doesn't have the, it's a while since I touched that one, but let me just say, not expandable volume.
Please say the next comments.
So it looks like there was a PR that implemented Flex Volume Resize and said that Flex plugins are not installed on the controller. The Flex plugin implements the expandable volume plugin interface, which component is responsible for calling the expand volume device method of the Flex plugin is a kubelet. I'm wondering if the Flex plugin are not installed on the master, why the attach detach controller needs to probe volume plugins dynamically. If we don't add the Flex plugins to expand controller once the Portworx plugin completes CSI migration, can we deprecate the expand controller and remove it altogether in the future?
Yeah, so I will answer this offline. I have filed a ticket to deprecate and remove the expand controller in the control plane in the that's part of Kubernetes. I think because it's not doing much right now. And flex volume was, yeah, he's right. You're right, Calorie. Flex volume never supported the control plane expansion. So what I'll have to, it's been a while since I saw that code, and I'll have to just uh, refresh my memory and answer that offline, if that's okay.
Good. Perfect. And I think these are the same question, Carlery.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Okay.
Well, no. The second one is about the Linux. I don't know who put it there.
Oh, this one. Okay. Yeah, you want to ask this one, Jan, if you added it?
No, this wasn't me.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, that's my PR.
Raphael?
Yep.
Cool. You want to ask it? Go for it.
Yeah, currently it just needs a re-raise, but I was just wondering if someone could take a look. It's been there for a bit.
Got it.
Thank you.
So this code adds modify metadata flag to the resizer for the modify volume. Just for modify volume RPC calls?
Correct. The same way that we do it for the provisioner, it's essentially kind of adding the same flag that we have for the provisioner, but for the resizer.
The CSS spec has some limitations about what can be supplied in the to the plugin. Actually, it cannot be anything Kubernetes specific, for example. And just want to make sure that we are not accidentally violating the CSS spec actually on this one.
I mean, this is information the provisioner already provides, right? Is there special limitations on the resize? Or
I think
modify, I mean,
those,
sorry, not resize.
a month ago, we also had a document about this discussed in the biweekly meeting, and it was decided in that meeting that for feature parity, moving this also to the resizer in light of volume attributes classes makes sense. So there is parity between creating a volume with all the extra Kubernetes metadata and then modifying it. But I can send you that document and we can discuss there any concerns maybe.
It's linked in the PR as well, the document.
So, but I don't know if we intended this to be used for updating PVC name and things like that. Like for, are these fields going to be part of the volume attribute class? Because what we pass into modify volume should be inside volume attribute class.
It's going
Not
to,
really volume attribute class, but okay.
the intent is to work the same way as create volume. They're ephemeral parameters. Like they aren't actually in the volume attributes class. The provisioner equivalents aren't actually in the storage class. They only get, if you enable the CLI flag, you get the extra parameters passed in. We went over this in the previous SIG storage meeting, but the reason that we want this is because we have parameters in that we use these features. Like when we provision volumes, we have features in our storage class that use the extra metadata. Like we let you tag the volume with like the PVC name, but we want to enable the ability to also have that feature in our modification path. But we need the same information again to.
Do you expect the PVC name to change?
We don't store it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we are passing at least in the test, we are passing PVC name, namespace, name, those.
Yes. It's the same information that you get if you turn on extra metadata in the provisioner.
So these will be specified in the modify volume RPC call too.
Yes.
So
in the mutable parameters.
So do we expect these to change? Like what Jan asked. Like why do we need this?
So we have features that rely on this information in the create volume path. And we'd like to offer the same features in our modify volume path. Specifically, we let you do special things with the tagging of the like with the AWS tags, like we let you interpolate the strings, etc. But we don't actually store the information anywhere. Like so we need it again when we modify, and we'd rather not have a permanent store of the information. Like our driver's totally stateless.
But you will get this call only when resize happens or when volume attributes change, not when your metadata in PVC or wherever change.
Yeah, we don't expect the I don't even believe you're allowed to change the name or namespace of a PVC.
Yeah.
Like basically this information can be provided in create volume, and we use it in our create volume call for certain parameters. We'd like to also have those parameters and that feature in our modify path. So we need the information again. Like basically we let you say, for example, like we let you say if your namespace has prod in it, you can turn on a backup tag on your volume or whatever. But if you switch in a new volume attributes class that has something like that in it, we need the information again to like recompute.
So these fields will be in the volume attribute class, and if you want these to change, you'll have to change the volume attribute class.
No, these are computed based on like we're just it's like the same way it works in the provisioner. Like they're I don't know how to call them, like dynamic, ephemeral. Like they will not be in the volume attributes class, but they will be in the RPC call. It'll work the same way as the provisioner.
Yeah, this is just the sidecar passing stuff from Kubernetes down that we also pass to create volume that's not in the CSI spec. Just extra fields. I was part of this discussion 2 weeks ago, and it sounded fine to me.
Was it in the CSI implementation meeting? Because I don't remember discussing this in this Kubernetes SIG.
It was in the SIG storage meeting.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's worth doing a follow-up meeting with Hemant and Jan on this to make sure that they're on board.
Yeah, maybe a document that just describes the intent and makes it clearer. It's kind of confusing because my first reaction was, wait a minute, this sounds really weird. But after talking about it, it sounded less weird. So maybe we just need to have a doc to clear it up and have another meeting to make sure everyone understands exactly what's proposed.
I see a Google Doc link to the ER.
Yeah, there was a doc discussed. I don't remember if it was last SIG storage meeting or I think it was a few meetings ago, like 2 or 3 meetings ago. But there was a doc that was discussed at the time. Although I think it's a little short, so we could add more to it to make the use case clearer.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see like the test cases and all. They obviously propose fields that never change. So like the concrete use case, what are you trying to change? What are we trying to modify? So that it makes sense how it will be used, because this is not clear to me right now. And because as Jan said, like PVC namespace is not supposed to change. So why bother syncing it in the modifier volume? But obviously you said there's a way you want to pass tags, that's where it'll be used. So that specific use case should be documented somewhere, a real use case, not a.
Okay, yeah, I can get us to add that to the. We just wanted it to be like, we didn't want to like hard code our specific use case into the doc. But if you want, like, I mean, if you want the specific use case, we can add it.
Yeah, it helps to understand the scenario rather than a theoretical use case.
Would adding the use case that we have for our create volume help in there? Because we do have examples of that in our driver docs.
Well, they're not same, to be honest. Create volume and modify volume RPC. I mean, like this. So
Yeah, but the reason why we want the extra metadata would be the exact same, just to be able to do it in modify volume.
right, but we don't sync the if I'm not wrong, we don't sync the data from PVC into the plugin unless there is a change. Like there's a change that requires modify volume.
Yeah, maybe I can explain it more clearly. Yeah, we don't expect the PVC name or namespace to change. What we have features, like we have parameters that you can pass into our storage class that depend on the volume name, namespace, etc. Like depend on these extra metadata parameters you can get great volume. We want you to be able to change how we're using that data we want you to be able to like pass different versions of those parameters in modify volume as well.
Sure.
So we need the information again because we don't store it anywhere. So like if say the customer, when they create the volume, has a volume attributes class that says like, you know, if it's a prod volume, we want to back up every week. And then they switch to a different volume attributes class that does it every day or something. Like we need the information again to like to recalculate it, because we don't store it anywhere. So we need it's not that we expect the namespace to change. It's that when the customer changes the parameters of the volume through the volume attributes class, we have parameters that depend on the namespace and name of the PV. And we need that information again to be able to correctly compute those parameters, because we don't store it.
Uh-huh.
Let's do a follow-up. I think it's worth having folks like Hemant and Jan understand what the use case here is. I think the thing that they try to pressure test is, let's not poke holes in the API to kind of hack around it. If the use case that you have is something that's very common, it's worth thinking about, is there a standard way that we can do this that everyone can use? And maybe the answer to that is no. And like Ben said, maybe this is obvious enough that it'll be straightforward, and let's just move forward with it. But let's just have Hemant and Jan on the same page, and if they're cool with it, then let's move forward with it.
Just a quick one, sorry, Saad, I know I understand use case now, but still we are passing Kubernetes specific information to the, like, maybe it's okay, but it was allowed. I don't remember, I was not part of the provision discussion, but generally like PVC namespace, sure, if you want to pass it, because we want to make the stateless, all the calls stateless, and that's why we will need to pass. I understand the use case, just not sure. Yeah, so let's have follow-up. Thank you.
Connor or Raphael, can you reach out to Hemant and Jan offline and schedule a follow-up?
Yeah, we can do that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, Carly, let's talk about this one. So I'm not sure what the background on this is. Looks like you linked to a very specific comment. The deleted item is another question. It is related to image volume plugin and SE Linux. Is it a known limitation of all volume plugins when using SE Linux? I have a different opinion. If two pods don't share the same mount point host path, they can run the same node when the SE Linux is enabled. The current implementation of Cryo is sharing the same host path when two pods use the same image volume. More details about my idea here.
I don't know details, but I think it's the limitation of this new volume type, because it doesn't go through the regular volume plugin code. It goes directly through container runtime. But I don't know if they plan to change it or fix it later.
I think I understand the limitation, and so this is not what we discussed, Calvary. This is different actually. So okay, so originally what was discussed offline was if you have same volume and two parts are trying to use same volume with two different SLNX context on the same node. Uh, generally like Jan found exception, but generally the second part, when it will run the chcon, it will override whatever the first part SLNS context was, and it will cause the first part to lose read-write access if the second part chcons the whole thing actually. So that's a limitation that's been there. There's an exception to that around privileged pods, which don't require recursive chcon. So that's the background with which we are working. And in this case, for image volumes, they are trying to implement the mount not chcon recursive mount, but mount the image with the SLNX context directly, so that no recursive chcon is required. But if two parts are using the same image, they represent same physical volume on the host, so they cannot work. That's in a way similar to what we have for other volume types, don't we? That's the concern. Like if I understood it correctly, corollary. I don't know if you're still with the call, but that's
My concern is two point two port don't share the same points, and it means two hotspots for same image.
yeah, they can run, correct. They don't share the same. Don't share.
If with it, the scheduler must handle this case. If a port is scheduled to the node, 然后 it cannot run. Without it, the scheduler must handle the case.
Well, the scheduler doesn't handle the case currently for other volume types, which have the similar limitation, don't they? What you're saying about host path is true, but those two host paths has to be two different host paths on the node, not same host path. You cannot have two different SLNS contexts for same host path. The current implementation in Scryo is using the same host path for image. Yeah, I mean, if they would have chosen to store the image into different this thing, then maybe it would have worked. I don't know. Yeah, and you have worked on this. Any other
I
thought?
don't know what they do with the images. Like why can't they unpack the same image to two different directories? Like that's perfectly possible.
Yeah, that will make it work. But I think they didn't want it to extra work at the Scryo level, and this didn't work for other volume plugins anyway, except the privileged part exception, but it didn't work for anyway, so I think they chose to implement it that way.
Yeah, but sharing image volume between namespaces, it's kind of natural. Like sharing the same PV, right? Like real PV is not possible, but sharing an image, I would say it would be common.
So I think it's valid to ask them to at least explore if you can unpack the volume into different host path rather than same, and allow mounting with two different Linux contexts. I don't know if what's the technical limitation of it, but if it is possible, then yeah, I think it's worth exploring. So I will add a comment to that effect on the this thing and on the enhancement also, so that they are aware that we would like it to work. If it doesn't work, we would like to know why. Is it because all the other volume types are broken, so this must be also not work, or is there any other reason?
Well, thank you, Hemant. Carlo, does that address your question?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right, thank you both, and thank you, Jan and Hemant, for the comments on that. Next, miscellaneous volume group snapshot targeting beta in 132. Can we cut an external snapshot or release after moving volume group snapshot CRDs to beta before 132 GA? Anything you want to add to this, Shing?
Right, because usually we cut sidecar release after Kubernetes GA. Here, basically, I'm just asking question, can we do that earlier? Anyone have concerns if we let's say if we got E2E test cap merged, so we can update CRDs. Can we?
Is the versioning of the sidecars independent at this point?
It is independent. Yeah. You mean compared to Kubernetes, right?
Yep.
Yes, it is independent. It's just typically we release sidecar after Kubernetes release, but because Kubernetes release, I think it's like end of this year.
Yep.
It's kind of pretty late. So if there's no
I think that seems
concerns,
reasonable. I mean, given that they're
okay.
independent, I think the only challenge tends to be like guarantees of support, like what version supports what version of Kubernetes. As long as we're clear about that somewhere, I think that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, we don't really have it because we don't really need to change anything inside Kubernetes. This is out completely out of tree.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if Niels have any more questions about this. All right, then let's move forward. Next.
Cool. Thanks, Shing. Next is CSI spec breaking change in 110.0.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time, but I'll just briefly raise awareness about this. So Jan filed an issue against the CSI spec. It turns out that as part of the refactor of the make file that Wei Wen submitted and we went over, there was a significant update to the Proto-C compiler version, which caused like significantly different behavior, and it broke some things. And we didn't catch it. We should have caught it. We should have publicized it better. Maybe we should have done a major release. I don't know. Jan, do you want to add any color to what happened here?
Yeah. Well, first thing, the CSI spec is okay. We didn't break it. Just the generated protobuf Go code is not backwards compatible. So yeah, like I'm not asking for revert. Just if we could do it better next time, it would be much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel like a revert might be appropriate, but yeah, the more important thing is we don't really have a mechanism as part of like when we do we don't have like an automated test pipeline for CSI spec that will verify that like old stuff still builds with the new CSI spec and that it doesn't cause any breakage. And so if we had something like that, I think it would have caught this particular issue. It's considerable investment to go build like a whole bunch of automated tests to catch that kind of issue. So
yeah, and do we want to guarantee anything in the generated Go code? I pointed it out in the issue I filed. Kubernetes packages, for example, have version 0. They can break anything anytime, and they do. So maybe we could do the same with generated protobuf. Don't guarantee anything, and sometimes it breaks.
I mean that's one way to fix it, but it's still a bad experience for all the sidecar authors and anyone else building against it. all the CSI plugin authors, of which there are over 100. So yeah, I mean the scale of the breakage is why I would consider a revert maybe of the protobuf part of that change and a re-release might just clear up the issue in the short term and do something else in the long term.
Yeah, I didn't consider the drivers. I can fix the sidecar. We are fixing the sidecars, but drivers, yeah, I don't know how much it breaks there. I don't know.
Well, and we don't know either, and that's because we don't have a good way to test these changes. So that's the core of the problem.
So if we do a revert, it would be on a patch release, right? Like 1.10.1. And for someone who's now made the changes to fix 1.10.0, would we then re-break them?
Yes. Or maybe, I don't know. Like how I found it is that we compare protobuf messages in the way that's not supported by protobuf. And it was working with the old version, but it's not working with the new one. So I guess if I fix all the comparison, it will not break again when we revert it. So yeah, it should work, I think.
So you're saying a revert wouldn't necessarily break you again?
Yeah, probably not. I would need to try.
Yeah, because we're comparing less now in the tests, which means that we'd be fine, right?
Yeah, like the protobuf version we have in CSI spec, it's very old. So bumping it is a good thing to do in the long term.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking when we accepted the changes. Oh my gosh, this is old. We should have a newer version, but we didn't realize the implications of just bumping the version. So that was our bad.
Yeah, the changes that broke this were done 5 years ago in protobuf library. So we didn't pick anything in 5 years.
So do we want to come to a consensus in this call, or should we do a follow-up to figure out what to do here?
We're past time, and I think this is a decision that should be made in the CSI spec group, but that meeting is like 3 weeks away. If someone wanted to push a revert patch that just downgraded the protobuf version and generated backward compatible proto or auto-generated code, I'd be happy to accept that patch. We do need to address the longer term, like how do we test changes to CSI specs so that we don't just push out a new version that breaks everybody question. But that's also for the CSI spec group to figure out. I just wanted to raise awareness here that this happened.
I think the
by
longer
accident.
term question we can handle in the CSI meeting. For this particular issue, I think as long as the revert doesn't make things worse or break someone who's already done the work, I think I'm fine with that as well.
Ben, you want to join Monday's CSI stand-up meeting, the Kubernetes CSI stand-up meeting, just to talk about this more?
I mean, if I can fit it on my calendar, I just those meetings on Mondays and Wednesdays tend to be bad for my calendar.
All right.
Is anybody interested in creating this patch in the meantime? Is anybody really care about whether this should be reverted or not?
Jan is the only one who noticed that there was breakage.
Yeah, and I am fixing the sidecars, so I'm not sure.
But it could just be that the release is recent enough that CSI plugin authors haven't taken it, and when they do, they could all start blowing up. It's hard to say.
I saw the patch that introduced it, and it is a complex patch that modifies makefiles and whatnot. So I can revert the patch completely, but
no. we had a meeting with Wei Wen, who was the proposer of the patch, to go through all the different changes he was making and understand what they were. And the protobuf version bump was just an aside that was like, yeah, let's do that. So if we did a revert, we would just want to make it a revert of the protobuf compiler. And we liked the rest of that change.
Okay, I can try.
Is this the patch that caused the like you had to embed the unimplemented server? Because if that's the case, I think we have picked it up and done that. So would we have would that break us if it gets reverted?
Sorry, say that again, Connor.
I don't remember if it was this CSI spec version or the previous one, but it started requiring that you embedded the unimplemented CSI server thing in your to correctly implement the controller node and identity server interfaces. It's like some new gRPC thing. So if you revert, it may break people that already did that.
It may be this new version that caused that change, because yeah, we were running an ancient version of the protobuf compiler apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember which CSI spec version caused it to happen, so that's why I don't know if it was this one or not.
Oh, but that's something we should test and figure out before accepting a revert. I mean, if it is the case, then maybe we should just accept that, like, we need, everyone needs to have a breaking change, and we should just publicize the fact that 110 was actually a significant break with the past compared to 1.9 of the CSI spec. That's the other alternative, is to try to help people understand what happened better.
Connor, can you also follow up and see whether that was in 1.9 or 1.10 that you noticed that?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and what CSI driver was it? EBS?
Yes.
I can just try to revert it and import it into EBS, and if it compiles.
Yeah. If it compiles, then we should be good to go. I mean, honestly, it's not that big a difference personally for us to revert that change. It's just a few lines we delete that we had to add to our structs. But I guess I was just flagging it as if we revert it. It might end up being a breaking change for people that already.
Yeah. We don't want that. We don't want that. We've already broken everyone. We don't want to break everyone again.
Yep.
All right, we're way over time. I have to run into another meeting. I just wanted to raise awareness. Sorry we did it at the last minute.
Yeah, no, this is an important one. Thank you, Ben, for flagging that. And thank you, folks, for the comment. Carly, we're going to skip this one. Feel free to move it to the next meeting if needed. All right, thanks, folks. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.